So we are here with Joe Tegtmeyer from the air. Well, we're on the ground now, but that's where you know him from. We're going to be talking about a bunch of brand new revelations out of GigaTexas. Well, let's start with what happened today. What did you see today, which is Monday?
Okay, yeah, Monday the 4th of December. Hard to believe it's already December. But we just finished flying there, and there's a lot of new developments. Able to get back to looking at the construction and not just necessarily what's going on with the Cybertruck. But on the west side, where they're putting in the new end of line and also the outbound lot lot's getting paved, which is pretty cool. And they're also preparing to put in, I think it's up to 96 Superchargers just on the south side of the new end of line. And see, they're putting these very large pylons down into the ground. It's unique. They haven't done that at all in that area until now. So there's 2 rows of these really large pylons, and they're not really, screw type piles. They're not drilled piles. They're just big pipes that they're pushing down into the ground, which is pretty cool. But there should be pretty soon about 96 Superchargers. Everybody wants to know, are they the V4s? They look to be the V3s to me. They're repurposing some of the ones that they had originally on the south side before they started doing all of the extension work. So those have been moved around the site a little bit, but there's 2 large sections plus some more of the concrete pads for the Superchargers on the west side. And then there's another group of 12 getting ready to be moved over from the east side to the west side. So they're going to have a lot of Superchargers there. One other thing that I was looking for, I didn't actually see, but I have heard that it's probably coming, is Tesla is going to be at some point using Tesla semis to be moving the vehicles. And to do that, you're going to have the Superchargers, the mega chargers for the semis, and I would expect that to be done over on that side as well.
I had forgotten briefly that there were chargers all along the southwest corner.
Right.
And 96 seems like an appropriate number. That's about what they have in Shanghai. Shanghai did expand a little after that, but the number they have right now is too small for sure.
Right.
The extension on the south is now 2 floors?
Yes, they're doing the building extension. It's going to extend the building approximately 400 feet, or about 120 meters or so. They've been installing a lot of the steel superstructure now, and they've been working from the southeast side, and then the footings for that and the column mounts and all of the perimeter grade beam is working towards the west. So the steel is following behind on that construction work. But yeah, it's fully at 2 levels now, and interestingly enough, the slope of the steel roof matches the extension for stamping 2. So another big clue that the building is eventually going to be under one contiguous roof. So even though they'll be kind of separate structures, it'll look like it's one building. And to be honest, most of GigaTexas is built that way too. Like the paint shop itself is almost its own structure, but under a common roof. And the same thing for casting, stamping, and so forth. Interestingly enough, also, is they've already got 3 large glass panes installed on that structure, even though the steel work is going on. And I've not seen something like that done before. There's some speculation that they're maybe evaluating the color of the glass or something. I don't know, but...
Well, I have a theory on that.
What's that?
Is you don't put the windows up that early when you're building a building or a car.
All right, exactly.
But the Cybertruck, they put the glass in real early.
That is true.
So maybe that's the new thing, is early glass.
Yeah, it's the unboxed construction technique.
The parking garage is looking big.
It is. There's compared to the site, a smaller section that they've been putting together with all of the concrete panels and the floors and the beams and so forth. It's now hit the 7th level, so it's 7 stories tall now, and it's expanding to the north and to the east, and it's also following along where all the footings and some of the perimeter grade beams and some of the other concrete work is underway.
That's so cool. And then looking at the height of it, it was probably a week and a half ago, you were counting the marks on, and you were saying, nope, I'm telling you, it's going another 2 floors. But you've watched a few of these go up, not parking garages, but you have a pretty good idea what's going on. There is, in a minute, we're going to be talking about the impressions from inside the factory, from what we saw that you got to really get a good eyeball on. But first I wanted to ask about the Megapacks.
Okay.
There's news.
There is. I was fortunate enough to be able to talk to some of the Tesla employees that know a lot about the electrical systems throughout the entire site. And a couple things that I learned. First of all, before we get to the Megapacks, talking about the solar panels on the roof, that seems to be a very popular question I get all of the time. What are they doing with the solar panels? Are they going to, now with the building extension, are they going to move the outlined Tesla to different part of the building? Because some people say it's not going to be centered anymore or so forth. The answer is no, they're not. The Tesla as it is right now is where it's going to be. There's about 30,000 panels that make up that center section that spells out Tesla. Eventually it's going to be more than 70,000 panels when it is completely installed. And the interesting thing is there was speculation whether or not the solar panels were directly tied to the Megapacks or not. And the official answer is they are not. They actually help with reducing the load demand of the factory itself during the day when it's producing power. Only a portion, I didn't exactly the amount, but only a portion of them are active right now. The rest of them will come online. But that's all part of what they called the phase 1 installation of the solar panels. Phase 2 is technically underway, but they still need to get all of the panels in. That's not here right now. And there's also been a lot of roof modifications that have been going on throughout the factory. And an example is over the casting machine structure where they've been adding ducted fans, ventilation shafts. They're also doing a flue for the new furnace. So while all the modifications of the roof are going on, it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to put in solar panels and then have to move them again. So I would expect probably sometime in first quarter, we'll probably start seeing more of the solar panels being installed, and by that time we should have a pretty good idea what the extension looks like as well.
On the solar panels, what I've been saying is they can't add more until they're done cutting holes.
Right.
Because then you've got to move the whole,
exactly,
all the wiring, the racks, all the nonsense. And in terms of centering it, because the building is now longer, I wanted to know, were they going to do something in that last part? So what I did was I couldn't get a hold of anyone at Tesla, so I sent an email to X and said, what are you guys, to their PR department, and said, what are you guys going to put in that extra space? And they responded with a poop emoji.
Oh, really?
Because that's what it's an auto reply.
It'd be great to see it with the airplanes coming in. You could see
emoji. It's a joke. Okay, so the Megapacks.
Yes, so now that we know that the solar panels do not directly connect to the Megapacks, so that answers that question. But the Megapacks themselves are tied into the overall grid, and they perform two major functions, or at least that's the goal. One of which is to provide backup power and just power in general when needed for the factory itself. In addition to that, it is tied into the grid, and it's part of the system that they're working with ERCOT, which is the Energy Reliability Council of Texas that manages the power grid for the state of Texas. And it will serve as essentially like a peaker plant. So to help stabilize the grid as demand ebbs and flows, this Megapack will be large enough and connected to the system to be able to help stabilize the grid in this portion of Texas.
Wow. So, and does that mean they'll be able to arbitrage energy back into the grid at peak times and make a little extra money?
I know that Tesla in Texas is an energy provider, and that is very consistent with that. Now, what the exact arrangement is, I don't know for sure, but I don't see why they could not. Sure. Especially if they're stabilizing the grid and they're using, power from different times to help distribute that over a 24-hour period of time. I don't see why not. The other thing I learned is that the commissioning of the Megapack should happen pretty soon. They're still working with ERCOT to finalize when that transition is going to happen and when they can bring it online, but the majority of the wiring, all of that is now completed.
Okay, come back tomorrow for the rest. We're going to talk about Cybertruck assembly line and what it actually looks like, so stay tuned for that.